automatically think of some kind of tragic death that occurred there, right? So that's not the case here. It's the bullet hole. It's allegedly still here. Where did you guys sit? Right at the front. Well, not quite right. So pretty close. But anyway, the people that sit in the front of this car tend to get a little queasy, nauseous, or headache, which is exactly why we started here. It's kind of a heated warning. I'm always going to blame our weather, especially with what we have going on tonight, especially when I have a headache going on right now. So again, I'm not always going to say everything's paranormal, but if anybody gets any of those symptoms tonight, I'm taking strangers to go seek out paranormal activity. Just let me know so we can move you and get the whole group to safety, if that makes sense. Again, I don't say that to scare you, it's a thing. So we're going to talk more about that as the night goes on. Zoe, you look excited about people getting sick. Like she's dancing over there. She's got all kinds of
So I have an obstinate crystal in my pocket.
You have a what?
An obstinate crystal.
Okay.
It just keeps away the bad things.
My bag is chock filled with dark crystals to keep everything nice
So,
and even.
okay, cool.
So I'm
so
fully prepared. You have what?
I have the Quran with me.
See, okay, so we all.
It'll be fine. We got one.
So I will also tell you, just before you guys get ahead of yourselves, if we are not going to any type of evil, dark places tonight, this is a family-friendly event, believe it or not. We're just going to be talking about people that have either weird deaths, weird lives, and are definitely haunting these locations. So kind of keep that in mind. I'm not taking you. There are places around town I won't take you. So just kind of put that in the back of your brain. We're not going to those spaces. I do get little kids on this route. So, and you just got somebody's like, somebody's stopping me.
No, that was great. I carry it with me all the time anyways.
Okay.
Should I be recording?
No, not yet. So, I'm never offended when you start like looking the opposite way. I'm not that guy where I'm like, pay attention, I'm your guy. You know what I mean? I don't know what kind of tours you guys go on where your tour guides are yelling at you, but again, I can only assume. So welcome to a parking lot. Congratulations, you made it. I told you I'm taking you to weird spaces. This place used to be the Charles and Eliza Pinckney Mansion. So their mansion sat in the front where our one measly vehicle is, way in the front. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant and came all the way across. And we are standing in the servant and slave quarters for the home. All you communication device people, which is pretty much everybody here, except for Tom because he doesn't want to participate with the spirit box.
It was distracting.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, from focusing on the thermal.
Well, and the stories.
Fair enough. I'll take that. Most people just turn it down when it's hot. But anyway, so this is the first place where I'm going to start withholding information. I am not going to be giving you questions like what color was George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the big red barn. So kind of keep that in mind. You will get the answers from your spirit boxes. And there are weird questions that I'll be throwing at you, so kind of keep that in mind. Anyway, who the hell were these people? Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. The son and the nephew, well, by the way, that's 3 different Chucks. That's why we look for secondary clues, so I know which Charles is actually starting to come through in the event we have the name Charles that pops up. So, the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. It's a big deal for us, but I hate politics more than everybody here. We're going to move on. We're going to talk about Eliza. If I don't bring up that signer of the Constitution bit, they do it for me very angrily, and I never try to piss off a Pinckney. Like, that's just never my goal. So, let's talk about Eliza. Eliza married Charles at a young age according to today's standards. I say that because if you're going to ask her how old she was, don't expect numbers like 12 and 14 from the colonial days that she came from when girls got married. Think of today's standards because her husband was over double her age when they married. Kind of a creepy age gap in the 1700s, a creepy age gap now. So, and this is a true love story. There was never any kind of affair or any foul play with the marriage. So again, true love story here. But anyway, back to Eliza. She married her husband because her father was over in England and he thought he was dying. He's trying to bring all of his children home so he could see him one last time. Eliza didn't believe he was dying, so she didn't make the trip and she stayed home, right where we're standing. It's 1744. She got married. You don't get married in that particular year to get a green card. We're not a country yet. So she did marry Charles out of love, like I said, and she was also correct. Dad did not die right away, and instead, Father from England is sending Eliza gifts from England to where we're standing. One of those gifts happens to be the plant seeds of indigo. You guys have been around town, at least for a few hours that I know of. You've seen the word indigo somewhere. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue, in case you were wondering what the hell this actually creates for us. But when she got the seeds, she didn't know what to do with it. She had to learn from her servants how to keep it cultivated. It's not hot here all the time.
Indigo should have bought you flowers. Came on right when you said that.
It did. Yeah.
Just say, oh,
like
is that what you want me to do?
Yeah, I mean, did you hear that? I didn't know that you had an earbud.
Yeah,
Oh,
on
yeah.
She's listening too.
On the.
Okay.
Is that what you want?
Yes, Tourette's,
Okay,
please.
so yeah.
All night long, Tourette's.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Good
when
call,
when you
hey.
said that,
Now,
buy me flowers. Come on.
Yep, keep going. I'm going to write it down for sure, especially because it was relevant to exactly what I was talking about at the time. but she had to learn how to keep it cultivated. When she figured out how to make it dye, she moved it to a cash crop just south of here by the Stone River. Got a hold of her dad and said, you know what? Rice plantations are going downhill. We're going to make a killing with the indigo. And we now have an international businesswoman during colonial times, which is something absolutely unheard of. So, that's the boring business shit of Eliza. Let's get into the weird stuff, because that's why you guys are all here. So what's going to happen is I'm going to kind of go through each spirit box based on what type of spirit box it is, because they do a little bit things differently with each one. And I'm going to kind of give you a series of questions to focus on. What I'm also going to tell you is don't get disgruntled if you're not getting a direct answer. He might be asking a question, Alexis might get the answer. On your TV shows, they normally only show one spirit box with it on speaker, and they're waiting for something to happen. The beauty of the way I love to control all of this, I normally have 5 spirit boxes running when I have larger groups, and we never know where it's going to go. So somebody might be going rogue, not asking the same questions I am, but giving the answer somewhere else. It's wonderful. So focus questions for you specifically. Let's go after, what do we want to get? Let's give you Eliza's death. So that's pretty easy to kind of go after. And she talks about it all the time. So how old she was, what she died from, where she's buried, what president was a pallbearer at her funeral. So 4 major questions that we get about her death. So Aiden, with your spirit box, yours kind of gives off 1 to 2 syllable answers because it is so sporadic. And you will unmute it once we start separating, but the mansion's not here anymore. You can ask what happened to it and when did that happen. So again, obviously it's some kind of tragedy, so something happened to it. So once you get the what, we normally get 2 or 3 numbers of the date, of the when. So again, kind of keep that in mind, and those answers can go anywhere. Also, I'm going to stick you with numbers on that too, and kind of stick to the marriage questions as well, to kind of see if you can get like how old she was when she got married, or Charles, or how long they were married. So marriage questions and direct mansion questions, and we're going to obviously be very respectful while we're here, and we're not going to let you. Last but not least, the children. Please tread lightly. We're all in no excuses from the grave. I haven't checked the electricity yet. I'm almost tell you the electricity in the air. I'm going to have to ramp up the baseline. You can ask about the kids, but very simple and basic. How many? What were their names? The reason why? There's a tragedy there. Don't poke the bear.
Okay.
So just be very respectful while we're here. Again, this is one of the few spaces where I'm going to say, guys, please speak respectfully. Again, I've had people where they come in and they're like, yo, Eliza, let's kind of do this kind of stuff. And that's just not the way you talk to a prominent English woman, especially if you want to get any kind of answers out of her. Quick explanation of the device I'm using, and of course it's on hold because it was in my back pocket. But the little blinky light guy that I showed you earlier only goes to 25 milligauss. If you were to put this behind your TV set, it goes to 40 to 60 milligauss, depending on how many devices you have plugged into the back of your TV. Your microwave running on high is about 150 to 170. The highest we've ever seen this device go, ever, in my 11 years of ghost hunting, has been here, 214 milligauss. It's like putting your head inside the microwave. You can see why, I want to make sure I have one of these at all times. I have epilepsy. Too much electricity in the air can trigger something. So I want to make sure if we're getting over 100, and I've already got a 10.8, so the average spike for this location, there's an 11.1, is between 18 to 22. That's 5 out of 7 nights a week. We will see a spike between 18 to 22 milligauss. That's half the emission from your TV sets. So that kind of gives you an idea of how much this thing is actually measuring. So I'm going to say with the amount of, we still have lightning going on, so I'm going to say our baseline should be at least 4 tonight. Normally it's a 2.5, but I'm going to say a 4. But we've already had it up to 11.1. 10.6, and you guys will get these readings back because you'll see me writing them all down in my little notebook. But I say let's get spread out. Most of you are already recording with your videos. Aiden, let's get you unmuted, and I'm gonna do 2 quick round robins in here and kind of see what you guys got going on with your stuff. I do have to write down flowers, but I don't think I have to explain anybody's devices any further. I kind of made it nice and simple tonight. So, yeah, let's spread out. Let's start asking some questions. Stay out of the puddle. Watch your feet.
You have any question?
Say, did you die due to a crime of passion?
Can't ask yes or no questions.
Yeah, you can answer.
No.
You have to.
No, you cannot ask yes or no questions.
What am I supposed to
Say, Eliza, how old were you when you died? Is anybody with us? Eliza, can you tell us how you died?
Eliza, what part of the property were you buried in?
Is there anybody with us right now? Eliza, we'd love to talk to you.
Eliza, what gave you the feeling that your father was not dying?
Let's just do it. Eliza, can you tell us who was the president when you died?
Sure, we're still in the country.
How you guys doing over here?
Good.
Anything coming out of that guy?
Not yet.
Obviously, you heard the word flowers, so you're getting the gist of
The song, yeah,
you want to think it's about the lyric, not about the who,
right.
kind of thing. So a lot of teenagers want to tell me that they heard Harry Styles, and I tell them I don't give a shit that you heard Harry Styles. I want to know what Harry was singing.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the message, not the who. Or that it was a male voice. I'm like, no, it doesn't matter about the male or gender at all. It matters about what the words were. So that's all that matters at this point. It's funny because now I'm down in complete zeros. I was getting all the way up to almost 11 and 12 over there.
Let's go stay
Maybe
over
we should go over there. Yeah.
Ask some questions.
Well, ghost move. That's why they call it ghost hunting.
Oh yeah, that's
why
true.
I tell the people who use this guy, like, walk around a little bit, kind of see what we got going on.
Now, I want to say earlier when he was talking about Eliza and how old she was, I want to say I heard 18 on here, and then
That's pretty old, though.
Huh?
To get married back in those days, it's kind of old, isn't it?
what's when she died.
Oh.
Eliza, we'd like to know how old you were when you died. Ask her something. Ask something.
Eliza, what was your favorite direction to look while you were planning your indigo? Eliza, how long of a trip would it have taken to get from America to England by boat in your time?
Were you supposed to ask that? That one.
question I just did? I wasn't supposed to do this, but
Eliza, how old were you when you passed away? How old were you, Eliza? I heard teen then.
I was waiting for like a basketball score or something like that. There's a
No,
basketball
I
game.
think I heard the word. What?
I thought I saw something, but then it was the car lights.
Eliza,
It's from the back side of the building.
who was the president when you died?
You asked that I had a 21.6. Again, something's coming up somewhere. We're just missing it in real time. It hasn't been that high yet.
Okay.
Was whenever she was here and she was was this a river still? Like was Market
Over
Street
here.
a river?
Market
Or they
was
had filled that
the
in?
waterway, yeah.
Yeah. It was,
So,
so when she was here, they hadn't
Yep.
filled it in yet.
no. So this is outside the original Charlestown walls.
Wow.
So.
That's kind of crazy how that.
Thanks for putting that map together.
Yeah.
A lot of, I usually don't talk about it because a lot of people don't have that kind of visualization.
Yeah, I mean, we've both been down here for a hot minute, and I was kind of sad that this is the first ghost tour that I've been on.
How long you guys live here?
Yeah.
Where do you live at? What part?
We were originally West Ashley, but now we're in Hanahan right now.
Okay.
So, but I work at Pearls down right on East Bay Street.
I got
So, that alleyway in between where McCrady's used to be. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw. There was a couple nights I was taking trash out where it just rained, and it wasn't like hot enough for any kind of steam or like any kind of mist to be out there. And I was walking, and I saw somebody that was like dressed in that
Don't
kind
want to point that camera directly at them.
Yeah, somebody that was like dressed in like
Period guard.
colonial fashion, and like as soon as I like kind of started drawing a little bit closer to it, just disappeared. There was no way not to not a ghost.
So how long have you guys lived in the area then?
I went to college here, so been back and forth
Collectively,
a couple times.
A decade.
And this is the first ghost anything you've ever done?
Oh
Pretty
no,
good.
I've been doing this
Yeah.
since I was 13. My
Okay.
family's been coming here on vacation.
Gotcha.
But no, yeah,
They're
of
just, it's just my. I've never done anything like this.
Nobody does anything like this.
So cool.
It's cool.
That's kind of my niche. So what I was telling Alexis, you know, I'm not near their cars with cameras. But what I was telling Alexis and Tom is like in a year and a half, my wife and I are going to have to move to New Orleans because that's where she's going to school at, for vet school. So I'm going to have to take my business down there. So they're like, oh, we've done tours in New Orleans. I'm like, well, do tell. Like, tell me what's going on down there. I've never been, first off. So it's a matter of like, we're going to probably live more in the Baton Rouge area, like in between Baton Rouge and New Orleans, because she's going to have to go to school in Baton. I'll go to, work in New Orleans. So, but
you're gonna find some great.
I just ordered a shit ton of books, but like so I can get going. I also like to not tell the same stories that every other staple ghost tour in town tells.
Every single time I see a group walk through, it's the same story.
Yeah.
And like there's probably like 3 or 4 different guides that go back there.
Yeah.
And it's all the same story.
Which alley are you going down again?
It's so, you know where McCrady's is, or where McCrady's used to. Well, all right. So it's between
Lodge Alley?
Pearls. I forget what Unity Alley. That's
Oh,
what it is.
yeah. I used to go to Lodge.
Yeah.
I took that out.
Yeah.
Just because that is not a paranormally active place every night, like what I need it to be.
Yeah.
It's only active every 5 to 6 weeks because
Yeah.
I've studied it. I mean, I was touring there for 2 years, and I started to see the pattern. it's on a stone tape theory. So
Yeah.
in essence, the stones in the ground are hanging onto the memories of the people that once lived there. So I had that we would get the same names every 5 to 6 weeks, over and over and
So it's
over
just
again. It's just
kinda
yeah, it's
worth
kind
it.
yeah. For me, and doing this on a nightly basis, I took that out, and I change this every year anyway. I take out a space and add a new one. This
Yeah, I think over there it's more of a not so much a ghost thing. It's more like the part of the birth of like the beginnings of the revolution.
yeah. Especially if you're down there during the
but
daytime.
if you lived here, like I lived downtown in college, the only place I've ever had sleep paralysis, and my roommate as well, you know.
Yeah.
Like never happened again after we
Just
left
while you
that
lived
place. Just while we were in that place on Radcliffe.
Oh, I know exactly where you're at. So there's actually quite a few fires that went through there, and there was a mansion in the Radcliffe Borough neighborhood where they actually moved the wood over to Dock Street Theater. So there is wood from Radcliffe in Dock Street Theater.
Oh shit!
So when you
know there's something going on there.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I can't reach because it's high. It's like the high banisters.
So
What
I
do we
just
get
heard
at?
the number 3 very clearly asking how many children.
Yeah, that's the cue. All right, let's get these two reined in. Zoe, Aiden, is that
Yeah, that was
somebody
loud.
asked something they weren't supposed to? So I'll explain.
Oh,
Let's move to
okay.
the back.
We're gonna switch sides. Oh.
You all right? You little spooked? You good?
No, it's fun.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's the whole point. It's fun.
It's cool.
I will tell you, like I said, this was a space I was looking to retire because I was starting to get those disembodied voices from like the nights where I'd get people goofing off and that kind of thing. And when I say I'm getting disembodied voices, it wasn't like the number 3 and I'm like, oh, was that the radio or wasn't it the radio? It was a please just leave us alone over 13 different radio stations.
No, thank you.
Yeah, so I have the software to be able to see like if it's coming from the radio or not. So again, you count the waves and all of those things. Again, I analyzed the shit out of this. Did anybody ask anything about the children? At all?
How many
Oh,
or name?
Nothing else
Yeah.
specific?
No, we asked about the wedding.
Okay, fair enough. We're also in the month of June, so that might make sense too. So let me kind
Oh,
of.
I heard June. I said that.
How long ago?
Before
we started talking?
Yes.
Okay, so many minutes before she heard the number 3.
Yes.
Okay, it'll all make sense here in just a moment. I did get all the way up to a 21.6 on the EMF reading, so again, fell right into my bracket of when, I said 18 to 22 milligauss. Again, that's about half the emission that comes out of your TV set. My head is still pounding, just so everybody kind of knows. Like, I checked the K index. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but that's basically sun flares that, cause our EMF of the Earth to kind of flare up a little bit. We're still in safe levels, so I'm going to be monitoring. If you see me whipping out my phone, I'm just making sure everything's going to be okay. Not against anything against you guys, but I'm the one with the headache at this point. So let's go through all of the answers, and the 3 will make sense. Those of you with video cameras, if you want to stop them to kind of give your hands a break, by all means do so. So, Tom's been out there like the perfect YouTuber. We're going to have some great film. They just put these motion sensor lights in 2 months ago. I've been trying to use them on the investigation. Like, hey, Eliza, I can show you how these move. All you got to do is step in front of it. That thing is far away from us. I'm going to be keeping an eye on it just to see if it's going to turn on again, just from any kind of raindrops falling around it, just to kind of debunk it. But I'm going to tell you, it literally just popped on.
Can I record and see if it gives me a picture?
If you want to just record and hold it there, so that way we're not, you're not laser focused on it. You don't need to be. But anyway, so let's kind of get. This Eliza, the second one, married Charles at the age of 22. Charles was 45, so kind of a creepy age gap back then and now. The mansion. So these were Aiden's questions. This is the only photograph of the mansion that we actually have. So this is fire damage from the Great Fire of 1861. Every tour down here is going to tell you about a Great Fire. This one literally went from... Oh, went the wrong way. So this one went from one side of the peninsula all the way to the other. This is a map of Charleston, as some of you already know because you live here. Everybody here is at the point where they... Where do you guys live at?
Richmond, Virginia.
You guys are in Virginia. So you guys are... You're South Carolinians, we can say that much at least. And you guys live here. So I'm like, wait a minute, is everybody like from down here? But that's obviously one side to the other. This is about $5 to $9 million worth of damage. In the event we get the word fire, burning, blaze, anything relative to a fire, we will get 2 or 3 numbers out of the date. Like I said, this happened December 11th of 1861. So those numbers we look for are 12, 11, 61. Not very simple numbers like 1, 2, 3, are they? So we've had all 3 numbers show up along with the word fire in the same evening. So take that for what it's worth. Now, children. So the children questions, this is where things got a little antsy and why I yanked us away. There were 4 children, grand total. That's why I said if somebody asked something a little that she didn't want to talk about, she will answer 3. But I will also tell you that the tragedy of one of the children happened in June of 1747. We don't have an exact date. Now, let me go through them very quickly. The first one you already know about, Charles, signer of the Constitution, right? The next one is Thomas, so good luck. That's another reason why I kind of gave you guys the kid questions. I wanted to see if there would be a connection. But Thomas fought in a Revolutionary War battle, shot in the left leg, and captured by the British. When he came out of that and they released him, he was left on a cane the rest of his days. We didn't get anything relative to Thomas directly, but you're kind of seeing the cues of things that I look for when his name does show up. So left leg, battle, Camden, revolutionary, you're getting the point. The next one is the tragedy. This is baby George. In June of 1747, he was born and died. We don't know if he was days old or if he was weeks old. So he was named, which means he wouldn't have named a child back then unless they were christened. So my guess is he is at least a few weeks old. But the birth and death records just have the same month and year, that's it. But he also doesn't have a headstone or a grave. Here's the weird theory that I have behind this, and this is my theory alone. Take it for what it's worth. They would have mummified him, kept him right here in the home, in a tomb, waiting for his mother to pass away so he could be buried with her. Kind of a weird religious practice. Don't go home and Google mummy baby, by the way, and not expect a phone call from the government. It is just a religious practice. Somebody told me about that one night on the tour, and I dove in. It was a real thing back in the 1700s. Now, the last child, her name was Harriet, the only daughter. She married Daniel Horry. South Carolinians. Horry County is Myrtle Beach, right? So Myrtle Beach is 2.5 hours north of here. Wouldn't have been a 2.5-hour car ride for Eliza. There's no cars. So lots of letter writing when we hear from Harriet. So it's usually words like quill, ink, paper, published. Those kind of terms will pop up. Once or twice a year we get things from Harriet. Eliza's death. This is also where things get weird, especially with baby George. Now, Eliza died at the age of 70. You need to know that first off, that's a long time for a woman to be alive during colonial times. She died in 1793, so we'll commonly get the number 93 here, along with the number 70. But she was going to Philadelphia, plus my voice recorder. So if the whistle's going to be there, it's going to be on a recording somewhere. So that's the beauty for you guys. Did you hear how quiet it is, by the way? It is always this quiet unless one of their air conditioners pops on. It's the only time we ever hear anything. We can't hear anything from East Bay Street in this corner. I don't know why. It's the weirdest, most uncanny thing. Now, the cool thing is with these spirit boxes, Dr. Ladd likes to give us little clues that he's here. We'll get a whistling part of a song, and the word doctor right after it. Just think of Guns N' Roses' Patience, Moves Like Jagger. You guys are getting the point. There's whistling parts of songs. We've also had the word whistle show up on different word generators and or regular spirit boxes. So it does show up all the time. All of the other clues that we get wrapped around this would be like 59. Obviously, Brown would be part of his name. The name Joseph is kind of vague, but the word doctor, medicinal, anything dealing with a doctor normally will pop up. Just so you guys have an inkling of thought of what you're looking for when you're going to the next location. So the other part of this is I can't take you all the way through here. If you're going to like walk through here one day, because I mean you obviously work downtown, if you're going to walk all the way through and use your voice recorder from your phone, just keep in mind every local knows this story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street throws a whistle down the alley. I do it every night, especially since I got thrown out of here. So let me tell you how I got booted out of here, because that's actually the fun part of the story. So, yeah. Who was it? Who did it? I thought so. Somebody did it. That's too obvious. So the alley didn't go all the way through this way. You guys, this also shows you how I put all the clues together and how the timeline works on some of these spaces. There was a wall up here between us and Cumberland Street. It was about halfway through. The reason why is because this is where they kept the livestock for the city of Charleston. So all of the livestock was down here, and it was called Cow Alley. But that means the bricks on the other side are older than the ones we're standing on. Those bricks down there are sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's a full handprint from a slave child at the end of this, along with some fingerprint swipes off to the side. When I first started doing this 4 years ago, I used to take my groups all the way through, and I would show them the handprint. It's a piece of history. We all need to see it. So that's kind of how I felt about it. But I also treat that handprint the same way I do a grave. That kid's not there. That's the last place you're going to find him. So, November 26th of 2020, my entire group is huddled around that brick waiting for something to happen with the tools I gave them. I know nothing's going to happen. I'm trying to shoo them along. It's also outside the beautiful mansion of the dining room window that we're standing right outside. Yeah, I was just trying to be respectful and not realizing I was out of bounds. I was still new at this. The new owner of the mansion came out screaming. My daughter thought it was great because she was on the tour that night and her dad's getting yelled at. The next day, well, we moved on. So the next day was Thanksgiving. I don't tour on Thanksgiving because before I did this, I actually worked in higher management for Walmart for almost 20 years. You can see why I'll never work Thanksgiving ever again. Yeah. So the next day, I called my buddy up that I actually was learning from the whole tourism business, and I told him what happened, and he's laughing at me. He's like, dude, you can't go down that far. You can only go down halfway, or you got to reroute your group. So I decided I'm going to reroute the group and try to avoid everything. So I told my group that night, I don't believe in this next story because I've never had anything happen, and I'm a vampire guy, not a pirate person. If you haven't caught on, we're talking pirates next. But anyway, before we left, somebody heard the name Anne on a spirit box. I didn't tell them who we were going to be investigating, the famous female pirate Anne Bonny. So I went, okay, we'll see what happens. We get up there, I told them a little bit I did know about pirates in Charleston. Somebody else hears the number 300, and I went, damn it, I don't know what it means, I'm going to write it down. I research it. The next morning, I'm going through it. We were there on November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy, November 28th of 1720. The exact 300-year anniversary of her pirate trial.
Wow.
That's when my shoulders shrugged and went, no, I don't want to do pirates. But here's my problem with pirate lore. Pirate stories are based off of pirate lore. So I have a master's degree in creative writing. Like, I need facts. I need things that are concrete. I've read more damn books on pirates than I've ever wanted to in my entire life, trying to make sure everything we're going to be discussing is going to be legit. Do you have something going on over there?
I don't know if it was from him or what, but there was just flashes.
It's coming from his camera, I bet.
Okay, that's
so
what
you
I
two
that's
should
what
never
I
be
fig-
pointed at each other.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's what I
keep
figured.
moving because I'm getting a shape on the lamppost. Sorry. I'm getting a shape on the lamppost, but I think it's just because it's
the tree.
a bunch of lines, yeah.
Okay, I'll just...
Yeah, that was another thing I forgot to tell you. You two should never point because you can see the LiDAR technology from his camera, whereas the thermal cannot.
Okay.
So, again, you're using light you can't see, so everybody's going to see like a bunch of little dots on everything later on. So before we leave the space, the gate behind me, so this particular gate is there because, remember that the alley didn't go all the way through this way? This was the shortcut in case there was a loser to a duel to go to the cemetery on the other side of the wall. Otherwise, they'd have to go all the way down to Queen Street, which you can all see how long this alley is, and double back to bring the dead body. And that's delaying them going to have a pint with the winner. So they made this little shortcut. The wrought iron was probably put here in the early 1900s, but the top of it you can actually see is actually part of the original wall. So this was probably created for that simple reason of getting over to the cemetery very quickly. Before we leave, did we hear anything specific on these spirit boxes?
No, I was really listening too because there was one day where, so I worked over there, and I had to walk to Bank of America just to deposit my check, and I walked through that gate right there, and then just walked all the way down and up to Meeting Street, and I like that. Sorry, that was me. I got like really cold, and this was at like 7:30 at night, and it wasn't like wintertime, and I got like super cold and like super creeped out. Like I was not walking by myself, and I ended up like running from probably like that tree to the rest of the way to the street, and yeah, it was kind of creepy. I understand.
Okay.
This is actually probably one of the most beautiful spaces we have in all of
And I never
downtown.
realized it actually went all the way down.
Yeah, so it goes all the way down to Queen, and it's considered residential down there, which is why tours are not allowed in that area. But again, if you guys are going to go down there looking for that brick, it's about 14 bricks in from the edge and just left of center from where we're standing now. It's pretty hard to miss, honestly, because it's a small handprint in a brick. You know what I mean? So if you're looking down, you're going to find it. It's very interesting
I'll
to
leave
see.
the kids alone.
Alexis still got nothing
No, I
coming out of
heard
there.
red.
What'd you get?
Red?
It's interesting. You're on mute, but so the next space we're going to, video cameras. If you want to record along the way, we're just going up and around the corner. If you want to kind of give your hands a break, you can do that too. We're going to stay out of the way of the other tours up there. It is kind of like a congested corner with other tours. I really don't see any other tours out tonight. I think we're going to be alone anyway, but I was just to kind of give you that heads up. Definitely get it unmuted along the way, and then you guys can tell me what you guys have heard once we get up into that little corner. You guys ready for this? Go learn about some rated R pirates. Anybody get my bad dad joke of rated R pirates?
I don't want to point at him. You didn't hear that?
I hear it.
Turn it up a little now that we're walking. No, not listening.
I know. When he starts talking about pirates, don't talk about Blackbeard. I know.
Just you need to be listening, not speaking.
Yeah, that's fine. Those are my terrible books.
Tim, please. Did you hear a little whistle?
No.
I don't know if that's just
that.
like radio noise
Yeah,
or
I
it's
thought
in my
that was-
head. Like,
Yeah,
you know
it
what I
is.
mean?
Even if it's radio noise, there's a reason why you heard a whistle when we're near
I get
the Whistling Doctor's Alley.
24. Yep. You heard that, right? That was very clear.
It was super clear. Horns,
That was some kind of, musical instrument.
piano,
Some kind
organ, some sort of organ. Yeah.
of, some kind of musical instruments.
I need a little bit of
Ooh.
pressure off my shoulders will alleviate some of this headache a little bit. Alright, so we got 24, a possible whistle. What do you got?
217, 79.
And we heard some musical instruments.
Like, right when you were saying horns, I heard something
Yeah.
similar as well. Like
Yeah.
like a French horn or something?
Yep.
Some, yeah.
Like a
Oh,
brass
close
instrument.
your eyes.
Yes.
What did you guys get?
It said nowhere, but it was a pretty clear slice from a song, and then it said so.
I heard an Elvis song and that was about it.
Do we know what the Elvis song was or the lyric that you heard? Or was it just like the music part of it?
It was just the music part.
Okay, just the instrumental.
It's like, gosh, I don't even know the name.
So whenever you guys give me numbers like 217, I look at that as February 17th or February of 1817, or you guys are getting my point.
Yeah.
So normally, especially with the location that we're located in, this is why I keep track of where we are. I start like diving into those dates. Is there something relevant that they want me to know about that they kind of get the gist of it? So even with the dates that I normally give, or like birthdays and deaths and those things, like the date of the trial, like those are things that we've all gotten in the past. This is how I learn about this stuff. So when you guys give me weird numbers like February 17th or 217, I'm like, finally, something new that I don't know what the hell it means. That's where I get excited. This is me excited, by the way. I'm not saying anything. I'm sure you guys figured that out by now. By the way, I'm sure you guys have noticed like there's a lot of tours that come through here, which is like, we're the weirdos. So if you guys were wondering where they were, look around.
Weirdos are always in the back.
Exactly. So,
Hi guys. How weirdos. Glad to be with you guys.
if the vocal should be fine, but I took the backpack off, maybe take some of that pressure, because there is half the backpack full of gear in there. Maybe that'll help with my headache a little bit, because I definitely want to make sure we're focused for these last two stops. We are here for the Powder Magazine, same as every other group. We're just looking at it in a different light. So the Gunpowder Magazine actually held gunpowder from 7 different wars, and those are not crosses on the building. So those are earthquake bolts. So earthquake bolts, if you don't know what those are, they're basically turnbuckles. Most tours around town will tell you what they are, but the reason why we're here is because that's the first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston ever put in. The reason why is because it's the oldest government building in South Carolina. Yeah. Now, with that being said, that's another part of the reason why we're here. Even though those earthquake bolts were put in long after its original construction, this building was being constructed at the same time that Anne Bonny came here to start a new life. You guys all watch TV shows where they use like a teddy bear to attract a child, those kind of mentality. Same thing. This is what I call a familiar. We don't have any buildings this old. This is just something that Anne would recognize. And so that's the whole point of why we're here. So By the way, the building took 10 years to build. Does that sound like a government small building? 10 years? No, not at all. I'll answer for you. But try to follow me on this one because there's a lot of little tiny pirate lady twists. So I will slow down on those twists. 1708, right in the middle of this construction, a young lady named Anne Cormac moves here from Ireland. She's with her father and his mistress. The mistress is Anne's mother. Is everybody with me so far? Okay, the three of them are running away from her father's angry wife. How mad was she that they had to get on a boat and come here? So there's no planes. Just point that out. So that would take away. But anyways, Dad bought a plantation in Georgetown. That's between us and Myrtle Beach. Mom died pretty quickly after getting here, so that means she had to send young Anne down to Charlestown to be able to sell anything from the plantation or keep things afloat. So hence the familiar building. Anne back home in Ireland was said to be a badass even back then. They say at the age of 7, 8, 9 years old, remember that this is pirate lore and no numbers are ever going to be exact, unless it's been written down, that she killed a servant with a knife to the belly. I can't tell you how many nights we've had servant knife belly show up on 3 different spirit boxes, and none of them knew what the other 2 people were doing. So again, happens all the time. Anyway, back to the building. Finished in 1713, 2 more years go by. 1715, pirates are coming from Charlestown. Anne is stoked. Why? She's going to fall in love. She's going to earn her freedom. Just like a man. A man's world at this point. First guy she falls in love with. I said first because there's a handful, and we're going to go through them. First guy is James Bonny. James Bonny is obviously, her new husband because Dad didn't approve and they ran away to Jamaica and got married. That's where the pirate name came from. Now, James is also not Captain Jack Sparrow like what she was hoping for. This guy turns out to be a privateer. He's a spy, a coward in her eyes. So, a few more years go by, she falls in love again. This is John Rackham. Guy number 2. They call him Calico Jack. This is the guy they based your Johnny Depp character off of, in case you were wondering who this guy actually is. Calico Jack has his own ship. Does anybody know why you can't put a female on a pirate ship?
It's all men.
Yeah, it's
Think
I would say
simpler.
that they're going to sink. Something with that. I forget.
It's bad luck.
Oh,
Yeah,
bad
bad
luck.
luck.
It's bad luck. Normally I ask that question right in the middle of this to make sure you guys are all awake because the pirate story is going to be long. But anyway, it is bad luck, and I do get some really nasty answers out of that, by the way. I got to stop giving that question out there. But he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and look like the crew, then you can be part of the ship. But you're going to be a female in my quarters. She's okay with this. Why? Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy apprentice back home in Ireland to hide her from his wife. So she gets it. It's a man's world. Let's put 2 and 2 together. She's a female in his quarters. She's eventually going to get pregnant. You cannot have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a girl. He drops her off in Cuba. Go have the baby over here. Come back later. We'll figure it out. She goes and has the baby, but returns without a child. We have no idea what happened to this baby. This makes Jack pretty mad because when she comes back, she's also dressed like a female. She's going to go flirting with the pirate crew that he just captured that's beneath the deck. So she's going to go flirting with guy number 3. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female, dressed like a male, to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured. So now we have 2 females dressed like males on the same ship. Her and this young lady, whose name was Mary Reed, became friends, possibly lovers. We're not going to really know for sure, but the British find out where they are. Servants. So there's our first part. The British send a fleet of ships to come take down one Navy pirate ship. The rumor is that Anne and Mary were the only 2 pirates not drunk enough to come up with their 1 bullet flintlock. Obviously, that's not going to work out very well against the whole fleet of ships with cannons. They get arrested. As they're being arrested, she looks at the captain, her boat, Calico Jack, and she says, "I'm so sorry to see you here, but if you would have fought like a man, you wouldn't be hanged like a dog." The word dog shows up a lot here too, by the way. The judge wants to see the 2 men that fought back so valiantly on their own. He's already tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunk pirates that wouldn't fight. So Anne and Mary go in front, reveal their gender, hoping to save themselves, and he doesn't give a shit if it's a female. He's still going to hang them. "We plead our bellies," was the last thing they shouted out, because you cannot hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. He delays the hanging, sends them both back to jail, but Dad is still up here with all of his Irish money in South Carolina. He bails her out, brings her back home. She remarries husband number 2, but guy number 4, because we're going to count Mary Reed. We don't really know. She has 4 kids, dies at the age of 82. Yes, very rough because we don't know much about her after the pirate story. Mary Reed dies 5 months later in April of 1721 from whatever pirate bathroom in a Jamaican jail. So, use your imagination. Most books will tell you that it's something simple like fever. I'm going to say bullshit. Let's call it romantic scurvy. Why the hell not? We're talking pirates. A couple of things I left out of here on purpose. You guys all know how to ask questions at this point. I will be writing down the word servant just to see that anything else pops up. But I left out the few details of Anne Bonny's parents. So it's the father and the mistress. I didn't tell you what their names were specifically. That does come up here often. The name of Calico Jack's ship. So that's a very interesting piece when it does pop up. The city where Anne Bonny grew up in Ireland, and the color of her hair, which ironically is red, which we've already heard. That's why I said that's interesting. Maybe we're getting the bleed over. So again, it's a possibility. I want to see what else actually pops up around it. But again, it's vague, but it is there. But again, we will spread out in the space, and since there's only 2 cars in here, but there's another 4 and 1 over here on the edge. We're going to be looking like the weirdos, filming everything and listening in. So I'll be bouncing around with all of you like I did back at the Pinky Mansion site to see what we're getting out of it. I do have to write down red and third back there because I didn't forget about it until just now. And then the word center. Yeah.
I think I heard lager talking about this.
Like lager as an alcohol?
And it's like,
Right. I've also had a lager that has ghosts. So it's a possibility either way. So that's a weird term to hear.
I heard construction, like when he first started, but they were obviously
it's not like
construction.
2 words blend together. It's sort of,
Oh, okay.
like you're making up a memory.
It could be.
I feel like you should let me listen solo and you do this for a while. Let me listen solo.
I love how you're just like so excited to get everything up and running. You've been bouncing around all night.
Jesus.
Last one.
Yeah.
Hook thing
I
going
was kind of freaked me out the first time she hit that thing. I was like, what the? Because I know that, what, on the other side of the cemetery used to be an alleyway for one of the brothels where Blackbeard used to pop up.
Yeah,
but
I
that's
talk
it.
about that every once in a while. If things come up here that way, I don't normally bring it up unless we get things like Edward, then we get Black.
Yep.
You know, things about him.
Yep.
So
I'm not allowed to tell the story. She already told me not to tell the story. I was just saying about the brothel that was back over there. Yeah, it's like mercury, huh? Does not kill. It doesn't kill syphilis. Doesn't do much for syphilis.
Her dad and her mistress.
right, correct. 14.7. Holy shit. We don't normally get EMF here. Like that.
Can I smoke a cigarette with this thing in my
you have-
hand?
It's your night, man.
I just didn't know. I wasn't sure. I know when they yelled at, but I already asked. Is it that thing?
It might be, but I wasn't over there. I was over here. It's not giving off anything over here. I wasn't like, hey, let me test this. I'm not going to write it down just to be safe. Because we don't normally see EMF over here at all.
That's pretty awesome about this building. I didn't know that.
Well, it's that little guy. This is the
Yeah.
apartments.
That's what, yeah.
But for you working down here, do you see where like the roof looks like the bricks are all weird?
Yep.
So in between the different wars that it served in, they actually used this back half for like a mercantile, a textile.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's different businesses in between.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like the storage units for things. So if they had extra, you know, Cooper barrels, they would shove them back here so they can put the business in the front.
Oh, shit.
So you can kind of see, but shit, somebody's. It's an apartment building.
Yeah.
I do my best.
I was
not to-
there. Fuck, man, dude. I didn't see that. Yeah, I wish we could. I wish I could somehow get underneath this fucking city and like find the tunnels from all the fucking pirates.
Well, there's not a whole lot of them. There's only one
It was
major.
just the one big one for coming in from the harbor, right? Wasn't it?
Actually, it's not even. It doesn't go down that far.
No.
So it literally runs from the Pirate House, which is on the other side of the cemetery that you know about. That was a brothel, all the way to Dock Street Theater, because Dock Street Theater was its own little whorehouse at the time too. So it was almost like they would go there to crash, but then they went underground to go to Dock Street Theater, because Dock Street Theater wasn't always Dock Street Theater.
Thought it was, for when did they finish building?
So it was Dock Street Theater first,
Yeah.
because this used to be Dock Street, and then it turned into let's see, what the hell was it? Planters Hotel, where it was, and that's where you get the story from the young lady that worked at the church and went down, Nettie Dickerson, which every other ghost story tells too. So they tell you the story of Nettie Dickerson because she went down to go work at the whorehouse because she wasn't of marrying age anymore. So she wanted to feel loved, and she goes down there, and blah blah blah. So But yeah, I stopped telling all those little tiny side stories. I'm like, I need to focus on like the 4 to 5 major pieces that we're working on. Kind of make sure we're.
I mean, some of the history that I've read about on my own, and then like gone exploring about this fucking thing. That's why I still live here.
There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. And then like the Civil War stuff. I mean, yeah, it happened. It's awful, but that's not even like for me. That's not even something that.
It was more the lifestyle for me of what gets me so interested in this stuff. I didn't want to do this damn pirate story, but we get so much shit out of here that I can't help. You know what I mean?
You gotta mention it for a couple minutes. I have to
bring it up.
Yeah, it's but just the indigo. I mean, that was and what's because I knew the indigo, obviously the rice, and then is it ginseng that grows? Well, ginseng is North Carolina.
Yeah, we don't have ginseng down here.
Yeah, because those.
We have tea here.
Yeah, they said in like the hills of, in like the mountains of North Carolina. Like, I think it's like a root. Is ginseng a root? See, I don't know. I should probably know stuff like that before I start talking about it. I just.
There's another. I think I know what you're talking about.
There's something similar to that. Yeah, because
it starts with a G. I know that.
Yeah.
I just don't know what the hell it is. But yeah, I just ordered a whole big stack of books on New Orleans.
New Orleans is gonna blow your fucking mind, man. I've never been there, but just like documentaries and like just being a fan of history.
I don't like buying the new ghost story books. Like I will go back to look for the 50s and 60s and 70s books because those are the ones where like I want to get the stems. Like I want the roots of it.
Yeah,
like,
for
where
real.
did it come from?
There's no Wikipedia back then, huh? Well, it's a lot. It could be like first-hand accounts, like you know.
And
like
some of the books I ordered.
I don't know if it's anything, but I was asking about Jack's ship, and I got Spice Girls playing.
Which song?
And I
Tell me
also
what you
got
want.
Darkness. Yeah. I also got the word darkness.
What's funny is we normally get girls just want to have fun here all the time. All the time.
Even if that's not real, that's a good joke.
We get it all the time.
That's a winner.
Make it up. Cannot shake this damn headache, man.
I just asked for her dad's name, and I got a liar.
Ooh.
They did not get along. We'll put it out there like that. Let's see if Cheeky Chain's over here.
Did you ever kill out of necessity or for pleasure? Did you ever kill any priests? And did they truly deserve it?
September 2nd, I just heard. September 2nd. Remember that? September 2nd.
I asked if she had ever killed.
I haven't asked about Calico Jack.
I asked her if she killed out of necessity or for pleasure.
Is that what we were supposed to ask? What else?
I figured I just was Anne, Bonnie, and
I heard Amy. I was like, I thought I did, but
maybe that was the name of the
and
child she left.
83.
Maybe that was the name of the child she left in Cuba. That's kind of, you know how badass them chicks would have been?
What was? Can someone tell me what Calico Jack's ship's name was? Good. Can anybody here tell me about Calico Jack? I swear, I've been asking Calico Jack fucking questions, I swear, and I just said, okay, Ash, are you here? I really don't care because I talked about Calico Jack, and I heard it's only for this lifetime. It was a male voice, but I heard only for this lifetime. Right?
It's kind of creepy.
That's cool, like, that's an answer right away.
Those kinds of things I need to know. Because again, certain messages start to come through to certain people. Those spirit boxes are just too much. It's mixing in with what they're already getting. So again, I do everything I can to get you to know you guys ahead of time without letting you know what I'm doing. That kind of makes sense. So that way I know which device needs to go to which person. The next location is very interesting. I actually added the Estes method into this. Do you guys know what that is? The Estes method is basically we're going to take Alexis and Andrea, we have the two spirit boxes that use it, and we're going to blindfold you and put noise canceling headphones over your ears, and you're not going to know the answers or the history of the location at all. I'm going to tell everybody else the history, and then we're going to come back and we're going to ask you two questions, and you're not going to hear us at all because you're going to have noise canceling headphones on, and you're just going to tell us everything you're hearing out of your spirit boxes in hopes that we're going to have answers that come through, if that makes sense. So, first off, gentlemen, are you okay with me blindfolding the women?
High fives.
Give me my phone. Should I take notes?
I'm just trying to remember it.
What's
I
that?
can't remember. I was like, can I take notes on my phone?
Why would you do that? You're not going to know anything anyway.
Just
We're going to be
random
recording.
words.
No, you're going to be telling us in real time.
Oh, gotcha.
Like, I'm going to say, hey, is the church near us? And you're going to hopefully say yes.
Gotcha.
And you're not going to hear what I'm saying.
We basically just shout out whatever we hear.
You got it. Like you have Tourette's.
Okay, cool.
But you're not going to shout. We're going to keep things nice and
Okay.
quiet.
Yeah.
So we are going to be walking about 2.5 blocks from here. So definitely video cameras. The two people I brought with me because it was cold that night. Listening to the spirit box for the year 1858 or 1828 and the name Henry. I was using a word generator list and it came up with the name Tim as soon as we came in. This is Henry Timrod, born in 1828. So I went, well, hot damn, there's my ghost. So this Estes method thing came long after, but here's the quick story on him. He was sick for most of his life, and he was a writer. So he's obviously old enough to go fight for the Civil War. He goes out to fight for the Confederates, and his comrades realize he's too sick to fight. So they sent him home, and they said, go be the voice of the war. So go write poetry about what's going on out here in the battlefield. He became known as the laureate of the Confederacy. For us writers, that's a pretty prestigious title. Anyway, a few years go by, and he actually has a son by his wife, Katie. His son, you guys are going to know about, they're not, obviously. His name was Willie. He was born on Christmas Eve, and he dies 9 months later. Obviously very tragic for Willie and his wife, Katie. Or Henry and his wife, Katie. So a few more years go by, and Henry's not writing as much as he normally does. His college friend recognizes this and says, come out to my cottage in Columbia. You can finish working on a piece you're supposed to be working on, and, you know, you can have some peace and quiet. Leave Katie at home. He goes out there and he wrote his last words. His last words were, beholder of brief mortality. Coughs, and it lands on the page in a blood stain. He had tuberculosis. And he dies right on the page. So we call this the Blood Book. They show it one day a year at the Charleston Library Society, but you got to be a member of the society in order to be able to go see it. But the internet is beautiful. What I'm going to tell you about this blood stain is I'm going to show it to you, but it looks like a man writing at his desk. So very creepy stuff. Which is exactly why I like to end our night on a great creepy story. I will also tell you, as I kind of bring this up, that Henry is a very shy and timid guy. If there's a lot of people in here, things do not go as well with the Estes method as normal, like what you would expect. So you can kind of definitely see where it's a man writing at his desk.
That is crazy.
To me, the whole page tells the whole story. Beholder of brief mortality, which basically means person of short life, and then he dies right on the page, leaving his stamp. So it kind of gives you the whole gist of the story. When we do get over there and I'm giving the two ladies their instructions on what to expect and whatnot, try to kind of pay attention to all of what's going on with that, just because you two are going to need to be, you know, certain motions. Like you're going to need to either tap them out or tap them on the shoulder for certain things. So we'll go over that once we get over there, but just try to keep everything focused. Definitely get some, like you can probably go around with me, like just go in a circle nice and slow. Granted, if other tours are coming by, which I don't see anybody coming through here this late, by all means, just point your camera in the opposite direction. I'm hoping those water droplets are from the trees and that we're not about to get rained on.
You worked it.
Which I think will be perfectly fine. We'll all fit underneath your giant umbrella.
We
So,
also got 3 names on our watch list.
what did you get?
Emma, Susie, and then 2 times we got Louise.
Different voices.
So Louise. And Louise is right in a row, right?
Yes.
Yep.
I'm going to definitely write them down. Alright, so a couple of things. You got to figure out this. Alright. Now they open up into this. So, take this, flip it, and it's all one piece.
Okay.
Actually, the whole ears. Did I rip the earpiece? Yeah, we can. I got more. Don't put them on yet. So, a couple of things. First off, you need to know I'm going to be watching your breathing. The reason why is because you start hyperventilating, you got to tap you out. So, what does tap out look like? That means your husbands, boyfriends, I don't know who's been on to you, they're going to tap you on your legs. So, it's going to be a quick tap on your leg. That means you pull off your own, noise canceling headphones and start taking everything off. We'll also tap you out when your 10 minutes is up. If it goes any longer than that, people start to like sway a little bit. They lose disorientation. You gotta get to your point. It gets weird very quickly. It's not gonna feel like 10 minutes. Also, if you are shouting, your husband will tap you on the shoulder. That means quiet down. Whisper. We can hear you. So we are all going to stay in really, really close and tight for you, so that way nobody sees what the hell we have going on over here. You need to tell us what you're hearing in real time, everything. That includes yes/no answers. You don't know what I'm going to be asking. This is the only time where I find like it can be a relevant thing where I might actually ask our host to answer in that fashion. So you'll hear that on your video. I also don't take any notes during this, so that way I can stay focused on what's actually happening at the end. I might ask real-time questions. Is Alexis wearing a white shirt?
It's kind of trippy.
If we get the word white or yes, I'm okay with that. So that kind of mentality. You guys are getting my point. So we're all going to move in nice and tight, so everybody in. How's that thing standing up on its own?
The ghost. Oh, it was close. Never mind.
Okay. So blindfolds first, and then your earbuds.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. And then husbands, you're going to have to help out with these. Sorry, I'm putting you guys to work too. Tom.
Husband. Okay. Can you put my earbud in?
Actually.
That's okay. It happens every night. Luckily, I can still do everything one-handed. See why I don't let them do it blindfolded?
I'm glad you're having some.
Yeah, these are tricky.
There you go. Now you got it, Tom. You're good.
They're just like the ones you get at the race.
Yep.
No, they're not.
Yep.
On.
That's covering my ears.
Okay. Get those volume turned up. Still having trouble? Yeah. So, straight down. Spread it this way. There you go.
Bald guy, you holding them so tall?
It's the, trust me, don't worry about it.
All right.
94.
Okay. That one goes to you. Let's get it nice and tight, everybody.
The hard one.
Wow. Alexis, go ahead and turn up your volume if you can hear me. Alexis, can you hear me? Perfect.
Spider. Snake.
It's a good test. I like that. I don't think anybody's ever tried that before. Henry Timrod, we would like for you to come through. These two young ladies can hear you sitting on the bench. You know how this works.
28 points.
Go ahead and tap her on the shoulder for me. She's a little loud. We got neighbors like right there. That's why we try to keep everything to a whisper. Henry Timrod, I need you to come through and tell us what your occupation was, please.
Security?
It was not security. What was your occupation?
Baseball.
What did you do for a living? How did you make your money? Alright, check the phone.
If I'm gonna die?
We're not getting into that quite yet.
One day though.
I'm not fair.
Henry, tell us what your occupation was.
Come see me. We're still friends.
Which friend are we referring to? Is this your college friend where you went out to his cottage? That's a yes/no answer.
This outrage. I can see so clear.
These two ladies can't. They're blindfolded. Let's get into some of your family members. Can you tell us
Program.
your wife's name, please? What was your wife's name?
God is back home.
Can you tell us what year your wife passed away?
You're the best boy.
You're the best wife.
You make
Henry, I know you and Katie had a very strong marriage. Can you tell us what her maiden name was, please? What was her name before she took your name? It was Goodwin, by the way, to anybody.
One God. Sophia, right?
Henry, what was Katie's maiden name?
In a statement, Jesus.
A lot of religious stuff.
Yeah, we're really not. We're not on that spectrum.
Do you want us to ask you about the church across the street? That's a yes/no answer. Henry, do you want to talk about the church across the street?
We will rock you.
She doesn't look clean, right?
Green Day, something. Clean.
Whoa.
He promised to never.
Look at that.
The white one.
From a child. I think that was a
Yeah.
mother. Jeremiah.
I'm sure they'll care about too. Henry, let's get into very specific details, please. Can you tell us how you met your wife, Katie? I'm trying to talk about happy things before we get into anything else. How did you meet your wife? He was her school teacher. I know we didn't discuss it.
Inside a child's brain.
She was one of his students. She was only 16 years old. I'll take it. It's vague, but it's there.
Montreal.
Can you tell me what your job was at the time when you met Katie? What was your job when you met your wife, Katie?
Rib, eyes, bleed. Personally. Breathe.
You heard the word bleed. Do we want to talk about that yet, Henry?
Sad about.
I'm sure you are. What was bleeding? What do we
Through
know?
the gate and between the two. The Babylonians.
Henry, we look at your last page you ever wrote. Do you know what we call it?
That's great.
What do we call it, though?
Sarcasm.
It's so focused, man. It's like she's all over the place. What do we call the last page you ever wrote?
Jenny Butler.
Henry Timrod. It's been almost 7 minutes, so you guys know. It goes by quick. Henry, we're running out of time. Do we want to ask about your son? What do you want to tell us about him?
Phil O'Brien.
Do you want to tell us your son?
Spike.
What was your son's name, Henry?
Two Hearts Day in Jesus. 1-0.
Okay, Henry, we're running out of time. You haven't given us anything super specific. We've asked you a lot of questions.
Church music.
Can you feel free to answer any of the questions?
These are uncharted territories of the presidency. There's a God.
Such a difference between the two of them. The Babylonian thing was kind of funny.
There's one.
Henry, we're running out of time here, sir. What do you want us to know? Give us some kind of specified detail that shows us that you're still here listening to us every night.
Not many people.
Yeah, there's not many people.
Waiting for the siege.
Let's make things nice and simple. Can you tell us the name of the church across the street? We're getting all these religious phrases and terms. Give us the name of the church.
Give me. No. And I held it back together, just long enough.
Henry, would you like us to end this session tonight? That's a yes/no answer. We're going to give you the choice. Would you like us to leave?
Nothing. There he is.
Henry, would you like us to leave?
No, look. This. Close your eyes.
Definitely no. What do you hear right now?
Bury me. You can't cancel.
Henry, we're going to wrap this up unless you're going to give us something very, very specific.
A road that will come over us.
You can see how this is different every night. I mean, we literally have two different listeners right here. One that won't stop talking, and the other one that's literally giving us one every 30 to 45 seconds. Henry, I'm going to say goodnight. Can you say goodnight back?
A client.
All right, let's go ahead and tap them out. This was pretty light.
What did that mean? Am I done?
Yep.
Okay.
It doesn't feel like they're done. And then we were like pulling teeth trying to get answers out of you. Alexis. So it was literally like, I mean, normally I have like two people sitting here in the same style. Like two people literally talking over each other, or two people that aren't saying much at all. So we literally had one of each tonight, which was kind of a treat. However, we only had like one or two very, very, very vague answers where I'm not going to say like, oh my God, that was paranormal.
Yeah.
It's very much a slight coincidental piece that it could have been there. But again, we don't know what's going to actually come out of the recording. So Alexis, at the top of your device, right next to the volume, there's a little button.
Yep.
I want you to slide it to the opposite direction.
Okay.
And it'll shut it off.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. The reason why I do that is so I know that the last 10 to 12 minutes of her recording are from this session, and you guys will get a separated piece of notes that come up out of this. So
There was a lot of music I couldn't identify, so.
and that's perfectly fine. First off, you've never done this before, even listening to a spirit box. But imagine if I were to give, you know, Tom didn't listen to a spirit box at all.
You were singing Queen, and then like a minute later, she said something about Queen. You were singing "We Will Rock You," and then
Yeah.
but it's just.
It was an interesting, like this
I was
is always
trying to
interesting.
say
That was-
everything I heard
that
that
was
wasn't
me.
static.
Right, and that's what you should do.
That was me interpreting it. I was like, wait.
Yeah, it's never
I know, I
like
was
wait
just
for
like,
something to happen. That's why I don't, clue you in on the history. So am I going to call this a successful session? I am not. I basically have three. I have like it wasn't successful, it was slightly successful, meaning we had one or two things that were definitive, but not really enough to say it was tangible. And then it was oh my God, we had 10 to 20 questions answered that were direct answers, which I've seen during this, believe it or not. That's where I get excited, where like, if it's going really well from the start, I can ask pretty much whatever I want, and we're going to get the answers. I've seen it. We've had it 2 or 3 times already.
You were asking questions?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
We're not just waiting for, like, something relevant to happen. We want a direct answer to what I'm asking.
Okay.
Like, I want an interaction.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how this, and you guys are going to see that on the video. You're also not going to know the history until you guys get the video back. Which you were, yeah, I'm a jerk like that. So now they get to tell you, like, what everything I just said was verified, that it wasn't successful. But at the same time, with all of this, like, you're going to get a lot of this back, and we don't know what I'm going to find in the last 10 or 12 minutes. We just didn't get it in real time. So again, it's not that it was a complete unsuccess, it just was unsuccessful now. So overall, I'm going to say, like, this was a pretty light night. I think the most exciting thing was I got up to that 21 point something as far as the readings go at the Pinckney Mansion site. The EMF, the Sierra Box, we do have 3 names that were heard along the way, by the way. One of those names along the way here from the SP11 was something that was said from an Estes session last week. So it was the name Emma. So I just found it very interesting that they heard the name Emma, and I just had it here last week. I don't know who that is yet, but they had Emma, Susie, and Louise. So
Louise twice.
Louise twice.
Yes.
So, but again, just an interesting night overall. I just didn't really know how this was going to go with the amount of lightning in the air and the K indexes that I've been keeping track of.